So you have your first impression before the sale, before the lead comes in, right? Through your website or through a phone call. But then you have your brand perception and impression after they've made the decision to choose you. And that's so powerful too in ensuring that customer loyalty is there.
Please welcome America's service sales coach, Joe Crisara.
Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast, the show that helps home service professionals master high-value sales, build stronger client relationships, and grow their business like never before. Join industry experts as they share real strategies that drive results. If you're ready to level up your service game, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
It's the Service MVP Podcast.
Thank you for listening and watching the Service MVP Podcast. I want to give you a copy of my free book. Just click on the link below in the description and one will be sent to you from me personally. Thank you so much for listening. Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast. My name is Joe Crisara, America's service sales coach. And today we have a very special guest from Unframed Digital, Maggie Swift. Maggie, welcome to the Service MVP Podcast.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Well, today we're going to talk about how the perception to the public is a great doorway or gateway to great service. And how does the public perception of the company improve the quality of the sales of the company? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and Unframed Digital and how you got to this point in your life?
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, I've been in architecture, construction, and design marketing for over 10 years. I'm a serial. I love entrepreneurship. I founded this business, needed to get my hands dirty in business founding. And I just love this industry. I love anything to do with the built environment. I love empowering businesses in the built environment. I'm really passionate about SEO as a marketing channel, as ultimately I found it's what impacts the business's profitability and bottom line the most.
SEO is search engine optimization, which is in a way how to take what the company is promising to the public and put it in digital form so that people can find the business. Does that sound correct? Is that a good way of putting it?
SEO is all about increasing the quality and the quantity of leads coming into your sales team and coming into your website. And ultimately, what I say is it's about thought leadership and brand leadership. So if you want to establish yourself as a brand leader, and a market leader, and a thought leader, SEO is a great way to do that.
Two great subjects, brand leadership and thought leadership, because both of them kind of go hand in hand, but one does stand on. So let's start with the brand leadership. I always say that if you look at the hierarchy of an organization, the brand always stands at the top, and the owner's job is to enhance and protect the brand. Tell us a little bit about that part of it. Could you mind expanding on that a little bit? Because that is something near and dear to my heart, and I can be a testimony for how important changing the brand to the right thing is. Go ahead and tell us some more about that.
Essentially, Google and search are one of the most trusted forms of marketing. That's why folks use it so much, is they are using it to get information. They're using it as resource. So no matter what stage of the buying funnel they are, whether they're still needing that brand awareness or whether they're ready to hire a contractor or an HVAC company sooner than later, they're turning to Google to find that information. And so ultimately, when you are in the top 3 positions of Google, you are just automatically seen as that brand and thought leader. And then once that user goes into your site, that's where the power of your website comes into play. And that ultimately speaks to how important your website is during those stages of getting visitors to go to your site. The other part to it is that in order to rank in Google, you have to create a lot of content. And when you're creating a lot of content in your industry specific to what you do and how you serve people and what you do best as a differentiator, that's promoting yourself and really showing that you know what you're talking about. You're a resource and giving information to your consumer and to your client when they're needing it the most.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times, Maggie, where like looking at the outside of the restaurant or the logo I see when I go on DoorDash or something like that. It influences me. The crime of it is I've gone to a lot of great restaurants where the food is amazing, but the branding not so much. That I thank God I stumbled into the place, but I normally wouldn't have chosen it because the brand didn't speak to me with the higher quality and things like that. Talk about the brand image and the colors and the element that people have to do to make sure that that's congruent with the quality you're trying to bring.
Absolutely. And to piggyback off of your restaurant example, if you don't go into a place where you feel something, if you don't see a brand in which you feel something, it's going to turn you away. And those first impressions are everything. And so making sure that your brand is not only reflective of the audience you serve and what you do. For example, custom home building, you want to have more of a luxury feel to it. That's important, but also making sure that your brand and your user journey is really consistent throughout, whether it's making your sales materials more consistent, making your proposals consistent with the brand. It adds a level of professionalism that makes people feel really comfortable trusting you and makes them feel like their decision to hire you is a really good one. So you have your first impression before the sale, before the lead comes in, right, through your website or through a phone call. But then you have your brand perception and impression after they've made the decision to choose you. And that's so powerful too in ensuring that customer loyalty is there, ensuring that, if you're a retention business that has that retention need, you can earn that retention. But then also that they're going to tell everybody they know about you, all their friends and family.
I know a lot of times back when I grew up, because I'm up there in age, and so one of the things I remember that the printing companies would make the brand. They would just come up with something. The guy would go, "I need a sign for my business" or something like that, and so the sign guy would create, and that's always irritated me because I'm like, it's such a disrespect of what goes into creating a brand. For builders, it's one thing. For plumber, it's something else, and for a garage door company, that's something different. How important is it that we turn that into a professional exercise rather than something where you just design your own with clip art?
Um, I think it's one of the most important investments you can make. It also, you need to understand that anytime you spend time on something, that decreases profitability for your business. So, especially as an owner where your hourly is really, really probably high in value, anytime that you spend trying to create a logo decreases the profitability of your business automatically out the gate, especially if you're a business owner that's in charge of selling. You're losing that business development opportunity. It is really important. Your logo and your brand can stick around for 10 years if it's done really well. It's 10 years without having to worry about it. It's 10 years without having to update sales materials or business cards or website assets. Of course, you're going to want to make updates and improvements and refine. If you think about how long that logo can last, it puts it in perspective of why spending money out the gate and investing in that is important. I really think it is one of the driving forces that help you immediately stand out in the crowd.
It's a demonstration of competence, I think, that in whatever service you offer, like this is the first level of competence you can see, is that we can represent ourselves permanently in a way. Does that make sense?
Even when you think about service businesses outside of contracting and construction, which is very personal, you're dealing with homeowners who have put a lot of money into their home. It's where their family is housed. It's a very big decision for them to hire somebody. If you think about other service-based businesses, legal, lawyers, financial services, again, very tough decisions that require a lot of trust and a lot of opening up and vulnerability on the consumer side. So helping them get to that point where they want to choose you over all of the competition, which, as I'm sure everybody listening and Joe, is high. That is a key way to say, I really take your needs seriously. I take it seriously that I'm selling something to you that is so personal and meaningful. And I'm showing that through investing in my brand, investing in how you perceive my brand.
Let's go over that next part, the thought leadership, which is really where the SEO element of it really starts to shine because you're able to create expertise, but then there's experts like you who take what people like I do and rewrite it so people can search for it and, and find it. Because sometimes we ramble and say things that nobody would ever search. Tell us about what it's like and what the importance of that content you're putting out there for the thought leadership and how important it is to shape the content in a way that people can find you as a destination.
To tie it into brand perception, that thought leadership also plays a role in brand perception, right? Because if I'm looking for legal advice on something that I'm worried about, right? Maybe it's my employer, maybe it's my employee. I am going to Google and I'm looking at that. And if I have a really great resource on what are my rights, is it time to call a lawyer? I'm going to automatically think that that attorney that's displaying that content, I'm already going to think, wow, I have high brand perception. I hold this person into a higher regard than an attorney that doesn't populate and have content at all. The thought leadership piece, the idea behind that is, connecting the dots to, I understand what you're going through. I understand the specific issues that you have, and I'm capable, 100% capable of handling it. And being able to get visibility on that thought leader is everything. Because, I'm sure anybody that opens a law firm, most people that open a law firm, but most people that are managing somebody's investments are capable of it, right? So how do you stick out from the noise on that, and how do you truly say I'm a leader in this and you should hire me over everybody else?
Yeah, it's funny how really who would go into any business unless you knew how to do the business. I think that's a given, but then there's a demonstration of the fact that you know how to manage a project like that by the way you managed your website project or your development of the stuff here. Tell me a little bit about this element of it because I do know the SEO writing how that's done. I have had some insights on that, and so I'm pretty familiar with it. There's a balance I feel between the authentic nature of the way the person portrays themselves as the way as a thought leader, and then the way that it's kind of reshaped as SEO. And whenever I see the SEO writer write it by themselves without any input, then it looks always watered down, and it's like clip art for words in a way. Whereas opposed to when the writer, the owner writes it himself. How do you balance out the thing where it's authentic, but it also has the SEO impact that you're looking to have?
It's important, first off, to acknowledge that we tie SEO content and SEO strategies directly to keyword research. And that keyword research tells us what users are searching for and inputting into a Google search bar. A lot of the time, when we're dealing with really technical fields, especially in building, financial services is another thing. Oftentimes, the owners of the company are really concerned about using specific language, and unfortunately, the users, especially homeowners or especially the average Joes that need these services, are not typing that technical language into Google. So we have to first acknowledge that. Ultimately, the best SEO partner that you're going to get is almost going to like embed themselves into the company and into the service. And that's not to say that they're going to be experts at what you do, because they don't have time to do that, right? That would cost a lot of money. But they need to embed it in the sense that they need to be working side by side, somebody in the company, sending content off to that person to get feedback on it. I always talk to clients and say, if you don't have the time or the bandwidth and nobody on your team has this, then we're ultimately not going to be able to do the best job that we can, because I need that thought leadership inserted into the content in order for it to be what you're expecting. Now, sometimes, brands and owners, they don't really care. They're just like, this is fine. It's doing its job. It's generating leads. But it, of course, depends on the type of business, the subsector. Of course, legal, you have to be more specific on that.
I do want to touch on two subjects still. One of them is the differentiation, and the other one is on sales. The ability to do R&D, which you would normally be research and development, but in some cases will be rob and duplicate keywords and things like that. What's to prevent or stop people from getting that? You may achieve a high level of SEO, but then a competitor is obviously able to see some of that information behind the scenes by looking at the internal part of the structure of your platform. What is the ways that people can protect themselves against that intellectual robbing and duplicating of the information?
So this answer is kind of multifaceted. The first is that SEO content shouldn't be confused with your brand strategy, your messaging, and your overall website copy. And when I say copy, I mean the written word. And so one thing that I think is vital when building out a website, investing in a website, is investing in professional copywriters that can help you establish your differentiators, how to say your differentiators, your unique selling proposition, and then also can help message that across your website. So that's number one. Number two is there's no stopping anybody from robbing and taking your keywords that you're ranking for SEO. That is why it's so important to consistently invest in SEO. It is a long-term strategy. If you are a growing business and you want to keep growing up until you sell that business, you need to be investing in SEO indefinitely, because if you stop, that gives the competitors all the room to eventually compete against those keywords and to outrank you. When it comes to intellectual property, I can't answer that. But I all I can speak to is, being out on the internet, it really murkies things up. IP law is definitely something I don't touch with a 10-foot pole.
Let's just stay with the keyword thing. That's great. So the SEO. So I just want to make sure I get this firmly and get this out here, because a lot of people think we've already done SEO. We're done with that. And you're saying SEO is not finished. It's constantly evolving and things are changing. And so you need to update the SEO. Tell us about the frequency why a professional SEO writer like yourself exists, and how often are you saying that somebody needs to keep updating the information so you're not just stuck with the same old thing?
Google is a black box. They don't give you any information about how their algorithm works. So SEO is like 60-70% data analysis. We are testing things out on fake websites to make hypotheses on how the algorithm works before we're applying them to our clients' website. It involves a lot of work because Google changes their algorithm. In fact, right now, there's a major update happening. Google gave us no inclination of what the update is. We're not back to square one, but we're almost back to square five when it comes to what are the algorithm changes? How does this impact our current strategies that worked last month and worked 6 months ago? And what do we need to do to make changes? Then you have the keyword opportunity. So a lot of folks don't realize that with one keyword, you could have 1,500 different variations on that single keyword. Let's just take custom home builder as an example of a keyword. We don't necessarily want to change anything. In fact, changing content too much is a negative indicator, but we want to begin to expand and take that custom home builder keyword and expand on all 2,000 options and variations of that keyword. And so if you have 100 keywords that have 2,000 variations attached to it, you essentially have endless work that can be done, and endless keywords that you can continue to add to it. Those keyword expansion efforts certainly have to align with the business goals, because some businesses, they don't want to get past a certain amount of projects or clients, which is totally okay. And so perhaps they really only have 200 keywords that they care about, and they're generating plenty of leads month over month to grow the business how they want to.
What is the frequency of the updates that are needed, would you say, for a normal business that does service to the public?
You should be investing in SEO on a monthly retainer long term. Year 3 is the year of the magic. So that just shows you too how long-term this is. Again, if you're a growing business, monthly retainer indefinitely.
How do you know if you have somebody who says they do this? Because every time I do talk to somebody about it, like, I'm not getting anything. I'm like, who does your SEO? And they're like, oh, we already had that done 5 years ago or whatever. So I kind of say they're already off. They don't realize it. Whenever somebody says their business is down, I said, what are you doing for SEO? And they're like, oh, we did that 3 years ago or whatever. I'm like, dude, that's not something you're finished with. That's something that takes place all the time, right?
Yeah. And SEO makes the salesperson the happiest. Like if you need to make your salespeople happy, you invest in SEO because it drives the highest quality warm and hot lead in the door.
Tell us how that works. How does good SEO make it easier for salespeople who are in the house?
The reason it drives the hottest and warmest lead out of any other marketing channel is because your keywords that you're targeting are showing super high purchase intent. If somebody going after the custom home builder, if somebody is searching for custom home builder near me and you're ranking number one, that person has a high purchase intent. They know they're not looking for a remodeler. They're not just getting a bathroom. They've got a whole home that they want to get built. And so when they come in as a lead to a sales team, that lead already knows that they need it. They've already got their problem articulated and defined. So really the salesperson just needs to make that pain point, as you know, Joe, make that pain point really, apparent and do a really good job of promoting the unique differentiators to close the deal. And so that's really how it works. And then SEO, it's shown to shorten sales cycles because you have that higher quality of lead coming in the door, improve customer lifetime value and retention rates, which just puts more money into the salesperson's pocket. It really is great for sales, especially service-based businesses.
Well, I think the first part of recovering from something that's wrong is knowing you have a problem, Maggie. So tell us how would you know if we were a contractor or a business of any kind where you might have a problem with this or your relationship with your SEO might be off a little bit. How can they identify? Does it take an expert to find that? Or what are some of the mistakes that people can kind of see in plain sight to know I may need help with this? What do you think? What would that be?
One of the biggest gaps and areas of opportunity when I get contractors and service-based businesses in my pipeline is that they don't have the proper data infrastructure set up to be measuring these things and to be making data-driven decisions. And that comes down to Google Analytics. So they might have Google Analytics placed on the back end of their site, but they don't have conversions tracking, meaning they don't have the leads being tracked across their channels. And so when you're looking at things like, you can look at data like user engagement rates, time spent on site, e-newsletter signups. But what is most powerful is tracking the leads that are coming in that are most impactful to the business's bottom line, which are your contact form fills, your phone calls. And so first of all, you have to get that set up ASAP. If you don't, you're losing out on that historical data as the days, the weeks, and the months go by. So that's number one. If you already have that set up, shake your marketer's hand because that's amazing, or your website team. That's great. You're one of few that I've spoken to. And then you can use that data to analyze where are you in terms of what is your biggest traffic drivers? What are your biggest lead converters? And then if you start talking to an SEO, you're an SEO person, you definitely want to ask them, where are my competitors at and how are we stacked up against my competitors? That can usually be pretty eye-opening on a couple of fronts. Number one, it can be eye-opening in the sense that you can see what they're doing and how much traffic they're driving to their site through SEO. You can see whether they're doing SEO at all. And then you can also see if they're not doing SEO, wow, that could be an opportunity that I could earn market share on a search engine results page pretty quickly because they're not currently doing it. I love using the competitor data to better understand it. There's also a lot of data out there on average ROI. So in construction, I think I want to say it's like 400, 500 something percent. So if you're already investing in SEO, you can also say, okay, am I getting at least to the average or close to the average ROI on SEO?
Do you do anything where you do evaluate things for service professionals or any kind of a business? Do you do meetings or evaluate what they got? Because I understand it because I've gone through a lot of iterations of this throughout the years. In a way, you're speaking a different language than most service people who do plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, or garage doors or whatever type of thing, right? How can people get your help, and what's it like when you first start out? Do you kind of just go over it and see the different improvements that are possible, the gaps that you see that you can bridge?
Yeah, I mean, I do an in-depth discovery call for sure to really understand the business's pain points. Oftentimes, I'm asking questions that might feel totally irrelevant to SEO, that might get really personal, like net profits, value of a lead, average cost, per average order value. I really want to understand the business on a deep level and understand the business through the prospect's eyes. If the prospect and I feel like it's a good opportunity to move forward, it's a good fit, then we might go to the next area, which is our initial SEO assessment. We do charge a nominal fee for that. We don't love to work for free. So even though I have my customer acquisition cost, for any SEO assessment, we charge a nominal fee. And as you know, in sales, that's a great way to disqualify or continue to qualify the lead. And so after that initial SEO assessment, you learn a lot. It's about a 35-page document. It shows you where you're currently at. It shows you gaps, opportunities, keyword search volume, where your competitors are at, which can be very eye-opening. And then, yeah, we do the quote and no and yes. That's all that's the final answer. There's no maybe.
I say there's yes, no, and another appointment. That's where the three things are going to be. That's what I always say. There's a lot of people who go on there and tell you your website sucks. And there's a lot of other people who will give you a 35-page report with competitive analysis and everything else you're talking about. And that's real service. So I think the difference is some website person who just gives you lip service and tells you all the ways you need to improve, as opposed to somebody who documents it. You're giving somebody a tangible product there that from that service. I think that's the difference. I think that does make it something that people should invest in to make sure they have something in writing, and hopefully they would want to choose you to continue on from that point forward. But even if they didn't, they got something of value.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the proof is in the pudding. So a lot of people do get scammed and feel like they've been overpromised and underdelivered on SEO services and website services. I always liken SEO though and website people to your electricians because there's a lot of bad ones out there. You can't lift the hood and say, yes, these guys are who they say they are and they're doing the work that they say they do. But at the end of the day, that's the nature of it. It's super technical. I think, if you look up questions, you can even ask ChatGPT or use AI to come up with a list of interview questions for your next hire across any marketing partner. I think if you can ask the right questions, even if you don't necessarily understand things like website coding, if they're able to answer those questions in depth, that could be really powerful. I also want to, at this point too, say how important it is to have a marketing person on your team. So often you want to put the marketing efforts on, an office admin person or even an owner who's already wearing 10 different hats. You can even hire a fractional CMO. You can hire people on a fractional basis. It's so important to have that marketing person there. It's the reason why that there is an entire crew that you can get degrees in it. It's because it does truly require a unique level of expertise.
I agree with that completely. And matter of fact, we have taken that on ourselves, and that's who found you for us. Maggie, how can people get a hold of you, and do you have enough bandwidth to take on more clients? Is that something that you would be able to do?
Definitely. Reach out to me at Maggie at unframeddigital.com.
Thank you, Maggie, for being here, and thanks everybody for watching this podcast. I really appreciate you, Maggie.
Thank you so much, Joe. It was fun.
Thank you.